back. It's been a while for me. I took a little bit of a break because, like everybody, I'm human, you know what I mean? So you got to know when you're trying to not to force something. This podcast is very organic, and I'm on a journey. Those of you that know me, or those of you that don't know me, I was a drug addict for 23 years. And I was homeless. I created all these poor psychological practices that were not good for me. And through that time, 23 years, you have to take a little bit of time for yourself to unwork the things that you have at one point understood to be normal, and they're not normal. And one of those things is being selfish. This episode is going to speak to being selfish. If you're an individual who finds themselves being selfish from time to time, it's very important to understand how you arrived at that position so that you can go back to that period of time to undo it. Because if we have a starting point from where it began, then we can be accountable and responsible for aspects of our life that we don't enjoy having as part of our character. And this way we can process it and move through it, because being selfish is just a direct result of ego, right? But if we understand it from a different perspective, such as being selfish, well then we have a way to nurture ego and to grow within ourselves. So yeah, something I've had to do. It's not easy, to be accountable and responsible for things that don't serve your highest purpose. But, we're human, right? And that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn from each other, and we're here to learn through our experiences so that we can grow together and that we can help each other. And that's what I do with this podcast, is I use my life as an example to be vulnerable, and to be, the utmost honest and truthful person with myself first, and then share that with you so that you can see that you don't have to be held back by anything or anyone, because there's no point, right? I mean, we're here to grow. We're here to grow, and we're here to grow together. So if I've got to put myself out there in this manner, I figure this is the best way to put myself out there. I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not, and I don't want to make videos that, don't serve any purpose, that are just there for some kind of clickbait or something like that. Everything that I do is real, right? So that's why this podcast is called Real Talk for an Unreal World, because I believe that many of us are still caught in the surreality of things, right? Just distractions and whatnot. And when we become vulnerable, we remove all the distractions because we process things at the core of us. So how did I arrive at this understanding of being selfish? Well, I can tell you. It was within my relationship, and I bear witness to the way that I, treat my partner within my relationship. I do many things that are completely selfish, and I don't even think of them because they're normal to me, and then she'll bring them to my attention, and for some reason I can't see it from her perspective until I've had some time to think about it, right? And I think that's really important, because what we're talking about is communication. And if you can't communicate with your partner in a place where you're reciprocating the information or the feeling that that individual is giving you, then that's, maybe step one for you is listening to yourself before you can listen to somebody else. Because oftentimes we make excuses in our own minds when we're trying to talk to ourselves, because, we're our own therapist, we're our own doctor, we're our own best friend. We have all the answers within ourselves because we can make excuses for the things that we do or don't like. But when somebody else offers you perspective, we usually put up a wall, which is ego, where we don't allow somebody else's perspective to sink into our own being through understanding, because we like the safety of our own thoughts and our own feelings and our own comforts within ourselves, that we close those aspects off. But it's highly beneficial to take in information from other people. That doesn't mean that you have to adopt everything they say, but sit with it, That's the main thing. That's how you process something, is you sit with it and you look at it from a bunch of different angles, Remove judgment, remove ego, remove all these things, and put yourself in the other person's position and feel something from where they're coming from. Now, that doesn't mean that the feeling isn't valid or the feeling isn't reciprocating with you, but the person has shared something with you. So it's certainly there for an open interpretation of what is being delivered to you. And that information is highly valuable. It's highly valuable. No matter which way it sits with you, the information is valuable because it'll lead you down one road or down another. But at least that way, two individuals have shared honestly about how they feel, and then they can do something about it. For me personally, I listened to the information that was being delivered to me, and I decided to do something about it because she was right. And I don't think that there's a right or wrong. Actually, I think she was honest. And I think that was more valuable than anything is her honesty. And the selfish, egotistical side of me closed off what she was saying for quite some time because I know best and I know what's right for me. And really, in reality, I'm very grateful to have somebody who's always looking out for my best interests, that wants to see me achieve the things that I want to achieve in life and helps guide me along that path. So, yeah, taking a step back and taking a step down and time for processing some things was imperative, and it was a requirement for me to continue on with my journey, which is why I took a step back from doing this, because I had things going on inside of me. It's like I can step up and I can talk about feelings, I can talk about processing emotions, and I can talk about all these wonderful things, and I know quite a bit about it. But if I'm not practicing it within my own life, like, who am I? You know? Like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. And I'm certainly not building a foundation for a kingdom on quicksand. You know, because if I were to progress in that manner with this egotistical side of me that knows best and closes off all other people's perspectives to adopt into my own life, well then, like, who would I be? You know, like, that's not who I am. So I looked to the history of where that come from, and 23 years of doing whatever you want to do in life, listening to nobody, destroying every relationship you've ever had because you have this side of you that has always needed to serve one thing, which was addiction, which was an inability to communicate with myself about how I felt. So I used the addiction as a distraction to become completely selfish within myself and not have to process anything, but also have an excuse as to why I don't have to process anything through addiction. All y'all that be doing drugs out there, I know I just hit home with that one for sure. I know you're feeling me there because that's the truth, right? Quitting drugs is easy. Well, no, it isn't easy. But when you're ready and you're ready to make a change in your life, it becomes very easy. Putting your life back together is the difficult part. And I believe that with most addicts or with most people that have practiced a different way of life from the systematic way of life, or just from an altruistic standpoint, never mind systematic way of life, but an altruistic place of life, it becomes quite difficult because there are so many things that you have to recreate belief systems, you know, recreate patterns of thinking, recreate a human. You know, and that can be very difficult to do. When another big thing is maturity. Like when you're in addiction or when you're in a certain pattern of thinking that doesn't demand you to grow up because of your selfishness, because the people you surround yourself with all think like children from a child's perspective, right? Where we can be selfish, we can do whatever we want, we don't have to listen to anyone, we don't have to listen to the rules. You don't have to be a drug addict to have that perspective or that understanding, because many people have that, right? But if you are in immature state, then that is another part of the evolution of self, of recreating a new self, that becomes very difficult for individuals. So these are things that I share with you because I want you to take a look at your relationship and I want you to take a look at your life, because I mean, I went through these things and I struggled through some things with this, and I know other people are too. But usually we're too afraid to talk about it to ourselves, and we're too afraid to share about it with somebody else. But that's why I do this, you know? I do this because I care. Like, I care so much, and I'm super grateful that my partner, she supports me in what I do, with everything I am. She knows who I am, right? I put everything out there. So I'm pretty grateful for that. And she's probably pretty happy about it too, because she's been putting up with my shit for quite some time. But I'm very grateful for her, and I'm very grateful for this, you know, to be able to take what I went through and share this with you. Because, I mean, let's be real. Like, if you're going in circles with somebody or you're going in circles with yourself, like, how long are you planning on going down the same road? Right? Like, life moves so quickly. And if you can't be accountable and responsible, or you can't speak your truth, I mean, to yourself, or good Lord, in your relationship, in your personal life, I mean, what does that mean for life? Like, it's pretty fictitious, right? You're pretending. You're pretending to be that everything's okay, or that you're okay, the kids are okay, the house is okay, the relationship is okay, when you know it isn't. And I think that that's a really important thing to share. And I'm grateful that through enough conversation and enough communication that I was able to take steps in the right direction to see the things that I didn't like about myself through a shared perspective of my partner, and yeah, I agreed. Those are parts of myself that I don't like, and I found out where it came from, so I unworked it, or I'm in the process of unworking it. I think it's a practice for life, right? To recreate a new human, but anything you practice, you get good at. So over time, those things that you work on, they kind of just become normal, right? So you can work on new things. It's just like riding a bike, but this kind of thing is so important. Like, it's far more important than education because it's emotional education. And once we understand like who we are and what we want, and we understand self-worth and self-love through an immense amount of processing and discipline within our life and setting boundaries to the individuals that we allow into our space, into our energy, into our place of love, well, then we can be the highest possible version of ourselves. And I mean, who doesn't want that? Like, floating through life, watching TikTok and Instagram and talking about weather and things like this, like water cooler conversations, like, come on, man. Surface level conversations. Pfft, man, I don't want to know you unless you're talking to me about your emotional traumas. You know what I'm saying? Talk to me about your story. Tell me a story. Tell me who you are. Because I want you to get real with me. And I want to be real with you, because that way we have a connection now. I don't want anything that isn't going to serve both of our highest purpose and be deep in the sense that we'll show up for each other, right? Because if we're going to spend time and energy with each other, we should show up for each other, or at least we should teach each other something, and sometimes those lessons are difficult and sometimes they're easy, and they come through different experiences. Sometimes we have to find that within a relationship that doesn't work, right? Or within a friendship that didn't work out. And it's very difficult for us to walk away from that, but take the education away from it and love every freaking minute of it. You know what I'm saying? Because those experiences are here to teach you wonderful lessons to grow into the human that you want to be. And, sometimes we got to lose things to understand what we gain. And it doesn't always work out the way we want it to. The universe has a wonderful way of teaching us very incredible lessons and very beneficial lessons for our soul to evolve and to take home with us on the other side, right? Because that's what life is. We're not here to make money, right? I say this all the time. Like, money is just a tool of control. It's a way for those with an immense amount of it to tell others with less what to do. That's all it is. It has no validity. Like, it's not even real. It's all made up, and it's so corrupt, and it's in itself that it's certainly something that we have to move away from. So the reason I do this and the reason that I talk about these things is to heal ego and overcome fear with love. That is what this entire podcast is about. And by recognizing the things that induce fear within yourself, we can then work them out or process them, because the antidote for fear is love. You don't need medication. Like, medication is just there to disrupt your natural vibrational frequency, which you emit, because human beings are love. They've been indoctrinated with foreign objects such as fear, such as shame, such as guilt. I mean, these are all valid feelings, don't get me wrong. But if you consider a world where love and peace actually, was real, like we were actually able to vibrate all at the same frequency, is so natural and beautiful and organic, because that's what we're here to do. But man has been given ego, and we have the ability to choose whether we want to embellish ego or understand what it's there to do. We can recognize it for what it is. It's there to help us along the journey, but it is not there to control us. So, like, this is real. Like, this is just so real, and you're going to have to get real with yourself with this kind of information, because this is personal, right? Like, no one's going to swoop in and change you. Like, I can offer you information and I can share about my experiences and the things that help me grow. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you got to do the work. You've got to see the same value in it that I see, and that means a lot of the things around you will go away, like friends, relationships, conversations that don't serve your highest purpose. Yeah, there's a period of loneliness when you're on a journey within. There is, for sure. I'm not going to lie to you. But that period of loneliness is stillness, and it's meant to happen because we attach to all these distractions and all these conversations and all these things that don't serve our higher purpose, just so we don't have to actually go on the journey within, because that's what we've been taught to do. We're not taught how to talk about how we feel. Like, school will make you an employee, for sure. But really, like, we should be going to school for emotional education, because that way we would know who we are before we choose what we would want to do. And then we would see the value in community and the value in sharing knowledge and being vulnerable and helping each other along our journey, because purpose is defined through our experiences. So if we're able to go through something difficult, we're able to take that experience and that education, and we're able to share it with someone else that may be heading down the same path or may have already gone into it but hasn't experienced the same things as we have. So we can help that individual along their journey. That's purpose. Yeah, that's what makes life a wonderful thing. And I don't want you to be afraid of that. I don't want you to be afraid of your story. I don't want you to be afraid of the things that you have gone through in life. You've just got to learn to speak your truth. And please learn to speak your truth to yourself. If you see that you're making excuses for things that are not correct in your life because you know that they don't fit your moral code, you gotta talk to yourself. It's I believe everybody knows when they do that, when they make excuses for things that are not right, because it's what they know. But we have a choice to make, and as I've done along my 23-year drug addicted journey, I made a choice. I made a choice to stop. So many people ask me, like, how did you do it? Like, 16 years with a needle. Like, I mean, you were homeless for years. But I made a choice. I had asked love into my life through the dictation of surrendering my love to Jesus. That was a key that opened up something within my heart. And from that moment forward, I didn't feel alone anymore. And I walked with something else. I walked this power, it was with a power. So I had this power. I had this power of belief in myself. So I took that power and I did something with it. And I was like, okay, like, if I believe in myself, because I have this power of love, this self-love that I understand, then I understand from this moment forward that everything that has happened to me has already happened. And I can be whoever I want when I wake up. And I chose to be somebody different. And as you can see, I'm still doing a podcast on recreating that individual today, but that's okay. I'm 3.5 years since I got out of jail and since all of this happened, and I don't have it all figured out. And that's okay, because I'm learning and I'm growing, but I'm taking steps in the right direction. I'm not going in circles. And that's very important. And I believe that if your partner is someone that you love or they love you, then if you face them with the truth of things that do not align with your morals and your values, then it would only be natural for those individuals to take steps in the right direction because of love for self and each other, or take time apart for the other individual or whichever individual to better understand what they truly value and what they truly want, or who they truly are. Very important, And if you got kids, good Lord, please do not stay in relationships because you think that the kids don't know what's going on. Because if there's a lack of love within a home, the children are the first to pick up on it. They're the closest thing to love. They're the most unobstructed by experiences, right? The more we take in, the more we know and the more we've been through. So kids are closer to love than we are, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Because they haven't been corrupted yet to the degree that adults are. And corruption is just such a difficult way of looking at life, but it seems to be that way because we're so divided, and we judge, like, judgment is something that we do so often that we don't really take time for communication and community and love. And that's very difficult for me to accept, because I live in this space of just wanting to share everything, but we're headed there. We're headed there, and you can make that choice and that decision on your own to teach your children something beautiful and to teach them about honesty. Because the most valuable thing that you can teach your children is about telling the truth to themselves and speaking their truth to others. That's it. That's what it takes to be a wonderful parent. Lead by example, be vulnerable. So these things that you're practicing within your life, people around you are going to see. They're going to see that, and they're going to see change, and it's so beautiful and it's so powerful because it's so much more. It's so much more. Take your time back for yourself. And a messy mind will take a little bit of time to undo. You're not going to get it right away. Like, don't think you will. I fell out of my yoga practice, my meditation practice for a little while. And even getting back into it, I'm someone who's quite disciplined with these kind of things. But I fell out of practice, and that's okay too. But I got back into practice. And I noticed, like, just being out for that bit of time, my mind wants to wander, right? So if you haven't taken any time to do this, your mind's going to be a mess. And that's okay. Anything we practice, we get good at. So just baby steps, right? But steps in the right direction. And when you get comfortable with something or comfortable with a lesson, you push yourself to that next lesson. You shake your world up, you know, you make your life difficult again, because it's through the difficulties that we learn, right? And we set good examples that struggling is okay. It's okay. I surround myself with people who struggle, because people who struggle survive. You know, they're not just surviving in life, like they're surviving like within themselves, which is beautiful, man. Like it's like a constant evolution to get through that next thing, right? They're not comfortable. They haven't found a place to sit and like make it all nice and whatever. No, no, they keep going, keep going. I'm just that kind of person, right? My life was very difficult, so I enjoy these kind of things. My life here in Vancouver has become quite comfortable. So much so, you know, I'm doing well with my business and everything like this, but I've decided to move because I'm done with the city. The energy here in the city is not working for me anymore. I love it. I love the people, and I will be back for sure to do wonderful things here. But at the end of the day, I know when it's my time to shake things up, right? I need things to change for me. I need the environment to change. I need the community to change so I can change the way I feel. I'm gonna take some time. I found a spot up in the forest in the cabin at Llama Lane Farms at my buddy's homestead. He has offered us a cabin to come and stay with, so I'm very, very grateful for Brian, and I'm very, very grateful to have met him along my journey, and he sees everything I'm doing, and he's, you know, offered me this opportunity to grow even more. So it's going to be good because I need this, and this is the evolution into this big next step. So things have been kind of slow with the podcast because I've been kind of growing within myself, but where I'm headed, like, I'm not kidding when I say like I'm building a kingdom on a solid foundation, you know, because I want everyone to go to the same place. The destination is all the same for all of us, and we're going to get there through love. We're not going to get there through being scared, divided, and judging each other. And I can promise you that, because I'm not stopping until we do. And I've got time for this coming up, time for myself. Very grateful for that. Time is the most precious thing that we all have, and it's what we do with it. So super grateful for that. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for just doing you, you know? Like, that's all I care about. Like, it's not a popularity contest for me. I'm not trying to anything. If you listen to my stuff and you work on yourself, man, I love you. I love you no matter what. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's very important to me, because this evolution of self happens with all of us. And if you got any questions, man, you hit me up. My social media, the Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok, and the YouTube is Real Talk for an Unreal World. TikTok, I cut up the clips of the podcast. I took a little bit of a break because I didn't have any content because I was working on myself and traveling a little bit. But I'll be back at that once this one gets up, and then we're just going to stay current. I got a trip coming up to Asia, so try and get some stuff done before that too, so I can take some content with me out there. My Twitter is Real Talk, the number 4 Unreal. And my email is realtalkforanunrealworld@gmail.com. And if you got any questions, if you going through something in life and you need to see it from another way, hit me up. Please. It's one of the most valuable things that I can offer you is just to really share about perspectives. And I know some things about life through my experiences that I've faced, so I can talk to you from a perspective based on actual experience, lived experience, and understanding, and we can work something out for you. So please don't hesitate, and much love as always. Like, much love. Thank you so much.